Hey, good evening, everybody. Bringing up the maps here to check out March 23rd, our severe weather outbreak coming together. And I've been working on a lot of other projects. I've got some like data stuff I had to deliver, so I've been doing other stuff. So I'm actually jumping into this and just now starting to look at it. So this will kind of give you an idea how we go about looking at a severe weather outbreak from the very start. So let me check my monitor and make sure I can see what you guys are seeing. Okay, this is looking out in New Mexico at the surface analysis. And you can see one issue that we've got is low dew points. And remember, a couple of nights ago we were talking about that. The NAM was showing weaker dew points in this area, higher dew points in this area. But even down there, 53, that's kind of on the low side there. But it does look like we have quite a bit of instability. I was looking at the satellite data, and I don't know if you can see this down here in the lower left. Or actually, let me see. Hang on a second. Yeah, it was actually this I was looking at. There's some banding in here, and I'm wondering if that's dust being picked up. See it right there? Little transverse bands, and I think the surface chart, yeah, it was showing a dust storm there at Lubbock. So that's going to be indicative of some pretty significant instability there. And we're seeing a line of CBs from about Tucumcari southward there. So let's take a look at where the boundaries are. I think I'm going to have to zoom this out a bit so you guys can see everything. Let me try regenerating that. Zoomed out just a tiny bit. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm running the AC because it's very warm here in Texas. It's a lot like late May here. There we go. So you can see lots of 80-degree readings across Texas there. We have about 84 in DFW, 82 at Abilene, 82 at Childress. And let's check out that moisture field. We've got 50s there. That's going to be bad data there. 50s up through the Big Bend, up to Fort Stockton. So I'm just drawing the 50-degree isodrosotherm. It looks like it goes all the way to Amarillo there. So something like that right there. Looks like we pick up a 50 there at Canadian. Okay. And then as we go west, we can see southerly wind, lower dew points. This is the post-dry line air. And then as we go further out, we get to the cold front itself. And you notice we go from 86 to 89 at Roswell. 57 here, I think that's up in the mountains there, but Alamogordo, 65. That's a lot colder there, 55, 48. And when we did that analysis exercise, I was talking about how it's unmistakable when you have cold air coming through the Four Corners area to Albuquerque. Yeah, 48 here. This is definitely post cold front air. Las Vegas, New Mexico, 62. I think that's going to be maybe on the backside of the cold front. 71 Raton also probably a little bit cold. So I'd probably go with something like that there for the cold front. It's going to be something between that and that right there. So there's Raton there with, wow, we've got some low dew points in here, 8 degrees there at Roswell. Okay, so let me analyze the dry line and see exactly where that is. It appears we're looking at something like this. And that kind of loses definition up in Kansas. We've got 53s out around Great Bend and Russell, 53 right there. So I think we're looking at something like that for a dry line position through Kansas. So basically from sitting here trying to remember cities up here. That's what happens when you come back from when you come into spring after a long winter. You kind of forget some things that you normally know. But yeah, Dodge City here. So we're looking at the dry line from about Dodge City down to Amarillo and then southward to about Pecos. So we can take that knowledge and apply it to our satellite here. So we're looking at that dry line from Dodge City about to Amarillo, about like that there. So it looks like some of the development we're getting is pretty far back in the drier air. So these are going to be pretty high based. So we got one line from west of Clayton there. We're going from about west of Clayton down to Hobbs. And let's see what kind of air mass that is. Wow, that's... I better check and make sure I don't have any bad data loaded up. That's kind of weird. Towers going up where we have 17 degrees. These probably are elevated here. There may be an elevated layer feeding those storms there. Let me switch over to the surface data. I'm going to cross-check that with UCAR. And just make sure there's no problems. I don't think I've ever quite seen thunderstorms developing in air that dry. So they're forming where we have 17-degree dew points there at Clayton. Okay. Yeah, our line is actually a little bit out ahead of that, so we're looking at about the Dalhart area down the border. So let me switch back to that. Okay, yeah, they're being fed. They're over here. So they're being fed by 50-degree dew points. Okay, that looks better. They're being fed. There's probably some 40s and maybe mid-40s in this area right here. So yeah, even though I put the dry line on the moist side of the gradient, it looks like there's probably a bit of a secondary dry line back here. So that's where we're getting the development. Okay, let me start the animation again and see what else is going on here. Okay, yeah, let me switch over to GR level 2 here. start looking at some of the radar, and there's our storms, and they do look kind of on the non-severe side right now. So right there around Dalhart, north of Stratford, up to Elkhart, Kansas. And we can say that the higher reflectivities are pretty well in the middle of these cells. So these have got kind of a non-severe appearance. This one looks pretty good here. This is northwest of Stratford. Let me go up to some higher tilts here. I would bet there's probably an elevated meso in that storm there. Okay, so this one's topping out at about 34,000. Yeah, the tops are not too excessive on these storms. They're, looks like mostly under 40,000 here. Okay, looking at the reflectivity, or I'm sorry, the velocity. We're going to have to set a vector here. Let's try 210 at 40. Yeah, probably about, let's see, maybe 25, 35. Yeah, I think that'll probably work right there. Okay, 23 out. Let me adjust this a little bit more. Not much to see here on the velocity. I'm going to set this in this mark inside the core of that storm right there. So we've got a little bit of circulation in this storm probably. We're seeing some inbounds coming this way. Trying to figure out what that tells me. I guess that's just outflow from up in the mid-levels of the storm. And also what I'm seeing here is some pretty good inflow into the storm. You can see the higher velocities right there. So this is about, let me switch over to base velocity. So we're seeing about 50 or 60 knots ground relative flowing that way. So these storms do have some decent inflow. Okay, so there's some more storms down the line. I guess the big question is where's our moisture? And are we going to be able to pull 50s and 60s into the storm situation here? Well, looking a little bit further south, there's our moisture way down here, 55-degree isodrosotherm, running about like that. So, yeah, this is more or less favoring the tail end, it looks like here. So I'm going to switch over to the models and see what they're going with for moisture. As we go into the evening hours, we're going to see a lot of the mixing of the air start to, the mixing of the atmosphere is going to start, you know, we're going to see the lower layers start decoupling, and that'll help bring moisture northward. And I got my phone ringing, so let me put this on hold real quick and I'll be back, and y'all can check out this analysis here. Okay, there's nobody there. All right, let me switch over to the chat and see who we got joining us. First up, we have Ryan Toomey's waiting for the action to blow up. Michael Burrell is here. Ahmed from Saudi Arabia. Ryan says South Florida had 2 waterspouts that made landfall this morning into Indian River County. 1 inch and 1.5 inch hail reported with today's storms. I think Ryan might, I'm guessing he's talking about Florida there. Rick McAllister is here. Ray Woody in Georgia. Andre Gulbis is here. Ryan is hearing big storms there. Thomas Fortner liking the special weather coverage. Very windy in Killeen. That's from Alexi. Let me give you some satellite to look at here. Ryan is up there in the Panhandle and watching things going up. Joshua Gilbert asking, how do you know if a storm is severe? Well, I can give you a few quick basics. There's a variety of ways to determine if a storm is severe, but the quick ways is looking at reflectivity gradients. And you see on this storm here, well, in fact, let me compare it to this one right here, the storm here. You can see the higher reflectivities are in the center, and also the intensities are weaker. This is only about 50 dBz or so. In this case, we're seeing a little bit more of a severe signature. The reflectivity gradients are starting to concentrate in this area right here, not so much on the north side. And you can see the higher reflectivities are also in the south part of this storm right here. So that's one way you can tell. Also, a good indicator would be higher reflectivities aloft. So if you go to higher tilts, you can see that even at 20,000 feet, we're still getting 60 dBz's. So there's probably some wet hail up at higher elevations, and yeah, see this even at 24,000. So we're seeing a little bit of transition to severe with this storm here. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a warning go up on this storm. And I think the main threat with this particular storm right now, we'd probably be looking at hail and maybe gusty winds, especially when you have a situation involving a lot of dry air like we have in the Panhandle today. Oh yeah, let's check out what SPC is going for. We should definitely look at the SPC advisories. So off we go to the SPC webpage. You can see we've got a slight risk from Nebraska down to about Midland. Kind of a narrow area here. Let's check out the watches. Got a severe thunderstorm watch from about Dodge City down to about Hereford, Lubbock, maybe just north of Lubbock there. And then we'll look at the mesoscale discussions. And looks like they're thinking about a severe thunderstorm watch for Nebraska. Let's go up to Nebraska and see what's going on there. We may need to create a special window for Nebraska. Let me do that real quick. We'll take our maps northward a little bit. Maybe I'll zoom that in just a little bit here. So most likely on a day like today, we're going to be seeing upslope there in Nebraska. When we have a very strong cyclogenesis in the Denver area like we do today, we see this cyclonic rotation of the winds coming in, and that puts this area in an upslope region. So this area here, this is downslope in southern Colorado, so there's a lot of drying of the air, there's adiabatic warming. Up here we have increasing relative humidities. So that can really lower your LCLs, and that's pretty important for developing supercells. So kind of an upslope day there for Nebraska, and let's check out real quick where the fronts are. Looks like we have I think kind of a warm front in the Platte River Valley right there. So I'm probably going to go something like that maybe. So anywhere north of a warm front, you've got your backed winds, and that's going to curve your hodograph. Okay, our dry line, let's see where that is. Let's focus this a little bit on Kansas and Nebraska here. Looks like our dry line comes up like that. And we've got a bit of a triple point right in this area right here. So some enhanced severe weather potential there. And of course, this area too, the upslope. Okay, got a text coming in here. Let me see what's going on. Okay. Let me take a look at the chat, see what we got going on here. Andre Gulbis watching the severe weather potential. Ryan says if you see pink, mauve, purple, white tops, you have a severe supercell. Ryan says tops popping above 40 to 50,000 feet, kicking off in a few hours. Robert says winds gusting to 44 in Dallas. Yeah, let's shift on down south. And I'm going to set up digital atmosphere here where it plots the winds. Digital atmosphere, you can really customize your charts. And in this case, I'm going to set it up to where it plots gusts on the right side of the plots. So there we go. Now we can see our gusts. So, yeah, gusting to 36 in the Dallas area. We've got some 40s in western Oklahoma. And I think about the highest I'm seeing is probably 43 at Woodward, right there. Okay, so yeah, some of that is lofting the dust there on the Llano Estacado there. Very flat area here. This is almost like a big plateau. Stretches all the way from Midland. Let me draw this out for you. It's kind of shaped like that right there. The right side of that, that's the Cap Rock. And it also has a sort of cap rock on the other side. I don't know how many of you have been in western New Mexico, but there's definitely a transition in this area here where you go from rolling hills to flat farmland in this area here. Okay, let me see if we have any current data here. Let me update the chart. Okay, there's our current data there. We're seeing 50s in the Amarillo and Lubbock area. This is the big problem we're dealing with today, is the lower moisture. This moisture is actually lower than I expected yesterday. So it's very tough to get thunderstorms going, severe thunderstorms going with 40s dew points. With 50s, yeah, you've got a little bit of potential. And I'm looking a little bit further south, down in this area too. This is what's going to come in later this evening. And I'm going to switch over to the NAM, or the high resolution rapid refresh. Let me do that real quick. Pivotal Weather is a good place to get charts. Pivotalweather.com. You just click on models, and in this case we're going to go to one of the convective models, the HRRR. I'm going to switch the region down to the south central US, and let's bring up dew point. I'm going to see if we have any help over the next 12 hours here. Okay, so at the top there you can see the valid time. So we're starting at 18Z here. Okay. Got to wait for a few charts to load here. So give me just a second here. So this will give us about 18 hours of forecast data, ending sometime tomorrow morning. So we bring this forward. And it looks like we don't really get any of the better moisture until the overnight hours, like 3 or 4 in the morning, as this moves into North Texas there. The blue colors right here, those are 60-degree dew points. So let me run this sequence again. Okay. Yeah, fairly poor moisture tonight. Looks like a little bit of pooling along the boundary maybe. And then it looks like the line starts catching up to the better moisture about 2 to 3 in the morning in this area here. So it does look like we have some severe weather potential, maybe increasing overnight in this area here. And let's see what the models are going with for the precip. And this is also a good opportunity to verify the models. So right now it's almost 23Z. So this is what the model was forecasting 5 hours from 18Z. So is this what we're showing? Well, we're showing a little bit of activity around Vega, down to the Clovis area, and then some more around Guyman. Yeah, that's fairly close. Looks like a little bit of error in this area right here. So it looks like it's not going very far south with the tail end of these storms here. So going with a few clusters here overnight, mostly in the Red River area into Oklahoma City. And you can see a little bit of forcing here, kind of a fine line there along the cold front. And then we get to the end of the run there. So probably what this means is for tomorrow morning, this area will remain primed for severe weather. And then likely as we get the addition of heating during the day, we're going to have some severe weather potential in this area right here, East Texas up to the Fort Smith area. So let's check out what the NAM has got for our forecast for tomorrow. Okay, NAM forecast. Going with a similar picture. In fact, it doesn't really have any convective weather in Oklahoma and Texas overnight. For tomorrow, there's that cold front moving eastward. NAM is going faster with the movement. No, it looks like it's pretty close to the HRRR. We've got storms developing out in East Texas up to Fort Smith, about 21Z, so this is going to be about 4 p.m. And there we go, moving into western Arkansas, into the Shreveport area, into the Longview area, Tyler, Lufkin, all that under the gun here. So we'll probably see some good severe weather potential in this area here tomorrow evening. Okay, back to the current data. You can see we've got a severe thunderstorm warning on the Elkhart storm in Kansas. And looks like we're going to see probably a lot of this action shift up into Kansas this evening. I'll show you another good site to get some interesting data. This is where we can get GOES R or GOES 16 data. So let me give me a second to bring up this link. And that's going to be at this site here, Kachelman Vetter, wetter.com. If you go here, they've got a very cool interface for looking at GOES 16 data. And unfortunately, a lot of it's in German, but with a little practice, you can kind of work your way through the menus. So here we can see the GOES R imagery for these storms out west. And let's zoom in on this stuff. probably a little bit too zoomed in. And I'm going to show you one trick for looking at this data. One problem with this website, it's a very good website, but you're kind of stuck with state level data or county level data. And like if I put Potter County in the Amarillo area, it's going to look like this. And you can see that's extremely zoomed in. So the way we work around that is we go to this menu right here and we pick this raster carton. So do that and you pick North America. And at this point you're going to go to this interface over here. You zoom in. Then we zoom in again. And then we can zoom in again on the Amarillo area. So that's kind of what you have to do with this website. And this will give you kind of a regional view of the storms. So let's see, let's bring up the GO16 data. And there we go. There's the storms as they appear on GO16. Some pretty good detail in the Red River. I'm trying to remember the name of that state park. There's a pretty cool state park in here with canyons southeast of Amarillo, but that shows up pretty well there. It looks like a lot of dust being picked up. See all that? Some transverse bands on some of that dust right there. Some waves. Wave action there. Now they do have an animation, but it's kind of buggy. And the way you deal with that, if the animation is not working very well, what you do is you pause it and you use this manual interface to move back and forth. And once you load the data manually that way, you will be able to animate it with this thing right here. So again, you just load the frames manually, and if you do that, then you can use the play thing. So there's the storms there with 5-minute GOES 16 data. So that's very cool. I'll take a look at the color products and check out these storms here. Okay, I pressed the play button and it's not working. So again, this is an example where you kind of have to go through and load the frames manually. But this is very awesome. You can really see where the dust is. There it is right there out ahead of the storms. And this here is either dust or cirrus back in here. And I think they're blending in some lightning data. So I think that's what these dots are right in here. Now if we want to shift further up the line, what we do is we just click on the top, and that should go up to the next sector. Okay, so now we're looking at the Oklahoma Panhandle area up into the Elkhart area right there. So anyway, that's how you use this site. Again, that's at Kachelmann Wetter, if you want to use the German pronunciation there, KachelmannWetter.com. Okay, going over to GR level 2. Taking a quick look at our cells here, going up. And as we saw on the high-resolution rapid refresh, the outlook for these storms is not too positive. It looks like these will start shutting down after dark. Well, I should say the HRRR is kind of keeping them going all the way out to here, but the NAM kind of shuts all this down after dark. But there may be a window of severe weather in here over the next couple of hours as these move across the Amarillo area, Stratford, Perryton, and Guyman. So let me take a quick look at the chat and see what kind of comments we have here. Live GOES 16 satellite data or delayed. Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay there as it acquires the images. So you're probably looking at maybe a 10-minute delay, I would say, before the frames come in. I'll switch over to that real quick. So there we go, looking at the tail end of the storms there in the Guyman, Boise City area. And then to shift down the line, we click on the bottom part of the chart. And let's see what's going further down, what's going on further down the line in the Midland area. Well, what do we got here? I guess, I think this has got to be dust. I don't really see a fibrous look. This is cirrus in this area here. But this here looks a little bit more like a dust cloud. Maybe coming off the dry lakes in this area here. So let's check out the data, surface data. And the plots are showing a lot of sand there at El Paso and Alamogordo. And you can see the automated ASOS sites. They're reporting haze. But obviously that's not haze, that's dust. So the sensors are reporting a obscuration to vision, so that's going to be dust there. 65 knot gusts there at Guadalupe Peak. And that's going to be, let's see, let's convert that over to miles an hour. That's going to be about 77 mile an hour gusts up there in Guadalupe Peak. Some serious upper level dynamics moving across this area right now. Okay, I'm going to take a short break, and if you have any general severe weather questions, you can post that, and maybe I'll come back to that. And otherwise, I'll just grab a drink here and a snack, and we'll be back shortly. Hey, good evening, everybody. This is the severe weather coverage for today, March 23rd. Taking a quick look here at the SPC bulletins, and you can see we've got a slight risk from central Nebraska down to west Texas, around the Midland area. You can see here in this discussion they talk about the factors affecting severe weather in Texas. And they point out limited low-level moisture and a capping version in place. And their forecast thinking was correct with development at 4 to 6 p.m., and we did see that. And then they discuss the main severe weather problems being downdraft winds and large hail. Certainly a good setup for both of those. And as we saw with the dust being lofted and so on, there's definitely some good instability. And we'll take a look at the soundings and kind of check that out. And then they noticed the model indications were that we were not going to see much eastward development overnight. So yesterday we were thinking possibly a squall line was going to develop overnight across Texas, and we've seen that the models have backed away on that potential there. Give me just a second here. Okay. Let's check out the severe weather potential for tomorrow and see what they've got for that. Got a large slight risk across West Texas, East Texas, East Oklahoma, and Arkansas and Louisiana. Very broad area. No part of it especially favored. And they've got this long discussion here about it. And let's see what they're going with for their forecast thinking. Steeper mid-level lapse rates developing later in the evening, in the afternoon. Mixed layer capes of 1,000 to 1,500 from eastern Oklahoma and Arkansas and Louisiana. And they're looking at the issues to be mostly hail and wind, but then they go a little bit into tornado potential here. So we're not looking for, well, SPC is not looking for a big severe weather outbreak. It looks like there's some limiting factors for tomorrow. The linear configuration, it looks like things are going to be highly linear for Friday. So probably a lot of squall line modes, and looks like there's nothing really pulling the winds around, like really backing the winds and concentrating those to get local enhancement of an area for supercells. Let me see if I can bring that up here. Let me see if I can bring up the NAM, and we'll check that out in more detail. And really what I should look at here is the wind field and the dew points. Let's check that out, because those are the main factors that will be influencing the severe weather on Friday. Okay, so this is Friday evening at about 7 p.m. And at this time we're looking at, let me see here. Let me see where it places the precip. at that time. Okay, so we're looking, the NAM is going for like around New Boston, down to about Crockett, Texas, kind of in this area right there. Let's compare that with the wind field. Okay, so that's where the thunderstorms will be on Friday evening around 7 p.m. And back earlier when I was talking about SPC, talking about the severe weather potential, how there was like a strongly linear mode, you can see that there's nothing along that line, up and down the line, that has the flow backed. It's just kind of a straight south-southeast flow. Now there is some backing in northern Arkansas. See up in that region. So there's something going on here, maybe better dynamics, but not so much down in the southern part of that line down in Texas. So let's check out the photographs just ahead of that line. I'm going to set a point just south of Shreveport, and we'll look at what the photographs have here. So there's the right motion vector right there. So storms moving out of the southwest towards the northeast at about 30. And it looks like there is a little bit of shear from 0 through 1 kilometers. Not much above that. So the storm relative helicity is kind of limited. There is some right there. That's the SRH. But we don't have like really pronounced backing like we would. Let me show you. East winds at 10 at the surface. We'll plot a dot right there. The new photograph with that would look something like that. Then if we looked at the SRH, we would see probably double the SRH right there. So it looks like there's not really like any mesolows along that boundary to really back those winds in the low levels. Let's check out the Cape there. What do we have for Cape tomorrow? Well, it looks like the cap is going to be a factor. You see that right there. Now obviously we are going to be able to break that cap because we have very strong forcing. But when you have lots of forcing with a strong cap like this, you do tend to get kind of a two-dimensional setup with a MCS. It's difficult to get isolated storms out ahead of the line. Most of your activity is concentrated right along the line itself. And so you end up with a squall line type situation. And down here we see the factors that go into the STP. The things that stand out right there, Cape. So we have some fairly decent Cape tomorrow, and also low LCLs. And low LCLs, yeah, definitely. We see the temperature dew point spread pretty low, only about 11 degrees. So low bases. Your LCL is down at about maybe 2,000 or 3,000 feet there. Actually, I think it's listed here. Where's the LCL? Yeah, I don't see it on here, but it's going to be around 2,000 to 3,000 feet there. Much different situation today. In fact, let me bring up the NAM SQTs for the Panhandle right now. I'm going to set this just a little bit east of Amarillo. And let's check out those forecast soundings there. 20-degree dew point depression there. So the LCLs are going to be quite a bit higher today. There's the cap. And some very good lapse rates above that. Okay, let's check out the positive factors for severe weather today. Cape is the big one. And effective storm outophilicity also pretty good there. And we can kind of see that on the photograph right there. Looks like some pretty good 0 through 1 kilometer helicity. There's the storm motion vector. So we sweep out a pretty large SRH area there. We can see that the bulk shears are also fairly high today. I'm going to skip the 6 kilometer level and just go all the way up. We can see that bulk shear vector. That's pretty decent there. That's about 80 or 90 knots of shear there between the anvil layer and the low-level winds. So that's going to result in a lot of long-lived cell modes today. And what's causing that? Let's check out some of the dynamics. Let's go aloft and check that out. Okay, there's the 500 millibar heights and vorticity. In fact, let me bring up the continental U.S. image. We'll zoom that down a little bit and look at this in more detail. And there we go. There's the setup for right now. So do you see the polar front jet there? Well, you can look at the isotachs. That's one way to do it, and we see pretty good 60, 70 knot isotachs through here. The other way is you just drop the polar front jet on the right side of this high vorticity area right there. So you bring that like that. That's the polar front jet location. And this whole area here, this is one big long jet max, rounding the base of that trough in the El Paso area. Okay, let's see what the dynamics do overnight. There's 60, that's 1 in the morning. And there's 12Z. This is around dawn. And the setup we're going to have tomorrow, there's 18Z. Polar front jet, basically running from Del Rio up to Dallas and up to Kansas City. And it looks like the flow is broken up into waves. See that here? So the flow is not really channeled that much. We've got these advection lobes running through the flow. And that can be really important. That can help localize some of your mesolow development at the surface. However, it looks like most of those affect the northern portion of that line there. And then for Saturday, let's check out what happens on Saturday. That 18Z, we look like that. So most of the best dynamics from about New Orleans up to Birmingham, Huntsville, and east from there. There comes our next wave on Sunday, moving into the Kansas, Oklahoma area. And this is our next storm coming in for Thursday, affecting Texas. And then we get another wave coming in on the 1st. And one after the other, and there comes another for the 6th. So we got a busy 1 or 2 weeks coming up here. So there's our situation there, west of Amarillo. Got a little cluster of cells from about Hereford up to Dalhart, then up to just west of Guyman and up to Ulysses and Hugoton up in that area. And again, the main problem today is the relatively limited moisture. We've got definitely some good instability. Moisture is the big problem today. Let me bring up the latest data here. I think we've got some 23Z data. I think I'll bring up the counties and the highways. We'll do that. There come the counties, and here comes the highways. And there's our data. It looks like lots of 40s up in the Panhandle. Only a few 50s, and that's bad data right there. But we do have this 50-degree reading there at Amarillo, 52 at Big Spring, 51 at Midland, and pretty much 40s everywhere else. So that's going to spell out a lot of high base storms, kind of outflow dominant. Dry line is located roughly like this. And then the cold front, that's starting to catch up with the dry line. Not quite there, still pretty far back, but it's ever so much closing in on the dry line right there. And probably sometime overnight, maybe around midnight, it will actually catch up. Okay, anyway, since the severe weather potential is kind of limited today, I mean, we may get some brief tornadoes, but overall, low dew points, that kind of thing. What I'll probably do here is I'll take a break and get some dinner, then I'll come back and do the 8 p.m. webcast. We'll do that as we do normally and go over all the plots and satellite and radar and everything. If we do get a cell that becomes severe and produces a tornado, anything like that, I will run a special again, but I think we'll probably just kind of wrap it up here for now and come back at 8 o'clock and see how things look. Anyway, I appreciate you all watching, and join us again at 8 o'clock, and we'll see you then. Thanks.